some of the deeper secrets I will be whispering unintelligibly. So yes, I will be alternating intelligible and unintelligible whispering to share with you some family secrets. Secret number one, number one, number one, number one, number one, number one. My parents are such creatures of habit that when I was growing up, they would always eat the exact same things for breakfast. The same things respectively. So my mom would always eat the same thing, and then my dad would always eat a different same thing. If that makes sense. Every day my mother would eat oatmeal for breakfast. Just plain oatmeal. My father was a little more original. Every morning for breakfast, he would eat slices of green apple topped with slices of sharp cheddar cheese. Sharp cheddar, sharp cheddar, sharp cheddar, sharp cheddar, sharp cheddar, sharp cheddar. Yes, every morning for breakfast, you heard me right, my father would eat slices of green apple with slices of sharp cheddar cheese. Don't tell anybody. That's a big horses, including a Tricaner and an Andalusian and a geriatric Tennessee Walker Palomino. So we had a lot of pets. And the only animals we really never had were reptiles that would have required live feeding, which I don't think any of us would have been good at. But this is where it gets strange. Whenever a pet died, we would bury them in our very large backyard, unless they were large enough that they needed to be cremated. Oh, and I forgot to say that I had some fish as well. So, I inherited my mother's sensitivity around animals and animal suffering. And so much so that I was really bothered by roadkill. And sometimes, if an animal was recently dead and not in terrible condition, I could even convince my mom fairly easily that we should wrap it up in old ratty towels and take it home to bury, because I wanted to give them proper funerals So, he still works in the Marines, helping with training. He still works in the Marines, helping with training. But here's another secret. When my brother was first in boot camp, I was incredibly anxious. I didn't want anything to happen to him ever, and I think it was worsening my OCD. I had gotten into the habit of sending him one letter a week. One letter a week. Sometimes two. Basically, as many as I had time to write. And each one was 2 to 4 pages typed up. And I was experiencing huge flare-ups of my OCD around the process of putting together these letters and preparing them to be mailed. Maybe it was the feeling that my signature didn't look right, or the stamp went on crooked, or the lines in the address were wonky. Whatever it was, I would often end up tearing up the letters and having to start over again. And it was actually through this process that I came to the realization that I needed some more support around my OCD, because I had had issues with writing and rewriting as a child, but I thought that I had moved past them, and to see myself acting irrationally and feel no control over it helped me to see that it wasn't all in the past, and I needed to stay vigilant with my mental health as an adult. Okay, I think I have time for one more secret, one more really good secret. Before I was born, my sister was playing at a playground in Virginia that was made completely of wood. And one day, when she was playing, she tripped on a nail that was sticking out and knocked out one of her front teeth, maybe both, but I remember the story as one. Later that night, when my dad got home from work, my mom was telling him everything that had happened. And at first, it seemed like he was completely unbothered. He just didn't seem to have some opinions about it. So everyone just thought that's just it, and he just doesn't care much about it. He's just got a lot going on at work, and just didn't seem to care. Then a few days later, my dad went without saying where he was going. And when he got back hours later, my mom asked him, "Where have you been?" My mom asked him, "Where have you been?" And it turned out he had gone back to the playground with the hammer, and he had gone all around and found every single string, and he had hammered them all. It ever, including Elizabeth, would ever trip and fall. And it had taken him hours to check every square inch of that wooden playground. So, I think that's where we should leave it off for now. I've probably already said too much. I've told you too many top family secrets. So what I need from you is your solemn oath that you won't tell anybody any of these secrets. Don't tell anybody. Keep it quiet, okay? Thank you so much for watching, and as always,